They're finally here. The entire S25 series, the Ultra, the Plus, and of course, the base model. Now, I had some hands-on time with them, so I'm going to give you a little bit of my opinions as to some of the announcements that happened and Unpacked and what I think of the phones and how they feel. Fortunately, there was no slim model this year. Some of the rumors, most of the rumors actually came true. When Samsung designs its phones, it keeps pushing the needle, and it's more of a refinement of the working model on the hardware front, with more drastically different changes happening on the software side more than anything else. And I think there's a reason for this. It's about the rudder that they're steering this entire ship in. And although these changes might come across as small to a lot of people, I think that they're a lot grander and more ambitious than a brand new phone design. One UI 7 was a big part of this year's Unpacked, and Samsung went to great lengths to show that this is way more than just a UX upgrade. It's steering the large direction of mobile in general, especially Samsung Mobile, but they are definitely leading the way with all these other Android phones. And they've overhauled the core of One UI 7's framework to a way more practical AI-driven system. It's actually very cool. They showcased the natural evolution of AI, where it's been going over the past couple of years from being a static, very specific, Google Assistant that we're used to, that we've grown accustomed to over the past, I think 10 years that we've used it for, to a more contextual, interoperable artificial intelligence that acts as an agent, one that understands that what you're asking and applying it to the real world circumstances that you're in. It's designed to understand you more and understand the context with which you speak. An example would be to interpret a photo, for instance, of a garden plant that you've taken, identify if there's something wrong with it, so you can ask it with natural language if there's something wrong with it, and then send that answer over a text message potentially to a family member who wanted to know that information in the first place. And you can do that all with one voice prompt. So it's multiple apps working together, and the Galaxy AI understanding the context with which you're asking it. This is the start of something huge, and I believe it's going to see its way into newer technology like glasses, for instance, with cameras on them. It's the seeds of what's probably going to be replacing these mobile phone devices in the future. Now, I'll give my full thoughts once I give you the specs of the devices, so let's jump straight into that. So for the Galaxy S25 base model, we're looking at a 6.2-inch Full HD display with Corning Gorilla Armor 2 and 256 gigs of storage. It comes with a triple camera array, a 50 megapixel wide angle, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto lens. The front-facing camera is 12 megapixels. I wish that was a little bit bigger, but the AI is doing a good job. The S24 series selfie cameras were great. This time around are as muted, unfortunately, as last year's, but they are very refined, and I think a lot of people like the less risky colors. There's a silver shadow, a mint, an icy blue, and a navy. The Galaxy S25 Plus is very similar to the base model, spec-wise and color-wise. In fact, it's exactly the same color-wise. It comes with a 6.7-inch Quad HD display, a 50 megapixel wide camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto lens. And just like the base model, the front facing camera is also 12 megapixels. The colors are exactly the same, as I've said, as the base model, but the Galaxy S25 Ultra is actually where the party is at here, with a 6.9-inch Quad HD Plus display, a 200 megapixel wide camera, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, which functions as a macro lens as well, an improvement on the 12 megapixel macro lens that's on the S24 Ultra over here, a 50 megapixel telephoto lens with 3x zoom, and a 10x optical quality zoom, which is just basically like a digital zoom, but Samsung have been really doing really well with this. And there's also another 10 megapixel telephoto on the back, as well as a 12 megapixel front facing camera. There'll be a 512 gig and a 256 gig model. Both of those don't have expandable storage, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Color-wise, there's titanium black. Yes, it's my favorite color. And then there's titanium gray, titanium silver blue, and titanium silver, which sounds like the name of one of the X-Men. Bluetooth has been removed from the S Pen, which sucks in my opinion. It means you can't use the gestures, but also use your pen as a camera trigger, which is something that I used to do quite frequently. And that's a little bit disappointing, but you still have hand gestures, so I guess that problem is solved for. The S25 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but with the help of AI, I'm pretty certain that it's going to have a much better battery life than the S24 Ultra, more optimized, and that's happening more frequently. The camera has some notable additions, including 10-bit log HDR recording for more serious filmmakers, and I can't wait to get my hands on it finally. There's also going to be 8-bit SDR. I'm pumped. Also, I'm really excited to see what people do with it, and also I hope that they do better with the log like integration than Apple does, because I think a lot of people don't understand log. It's filmmakers that do. Maybe you just need to educate people. They all have Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, which has improvements on pretty much every single metric. So Samsung claimed that there's going to be an NPU improvement. This is obvious, of 40%, and it's just logical that this is going to be there because Galaxy AI is so big for this launch, and it relies on that NPU so much. So it makes a lot of sense. The CPU is going to have a 36% improvement, GPU a 30% improvement, with a Vulkan benchmark average FPS of 18% more than the past being the S25 Ultra, and the 3D benchmark seeing a 40% improvement, which is really good. Oh, and of course there's going to be ray tracing, so if you care about that. I've been playing a lot of Wild Rift, obviously. You see that on my reviews. I kind of turn all that off in favor for frames, so to see those frame boosting, I'm really excited about that. Design wise, I'm in love. I think this is a beautiful phone. This is the brutalist design language that I've always had an affinity towards, and I'm so glad that Samsung adopted it. So I love the fact that they're sticking with it. We have more rounded corners on the Ultra for those who complained about the sharp edges of the S24 Ultra that were hurting them when they hold their phones. You baby. No, for real, it looks good. It actually adds to it. And also the phone's a lot lighter, claiming a 15-gram lighter weight, and the design is going to be 15% thinner. And you can feel it when you pick up the phone, which is really surprising. Those numbers don't sound large, but they have an impact. I also love the camera details that they've added. These texture rings that you see around the lenses, they've borrowed these designs from the Fold, and now it looks like it's a staple across all the flagships for Samsung, and they feel more durable and leave a bigger, more confident impression. You know, when someone pulls out a phone, you know it's a Samsung device. Now, Galaxy AI and One UI 7, I think we actually really need to talk about this. This is clearly the biggest part of these devices. It took up a huge part of the stage time, and I understand why. It's working throughout the device to optimize not only the performance of features like using AI to remove specific types of audio noise out of footage, it's called audio removal, or to analyze photos in your gallery for contextual improvements for information that you need, like that gardening example that I gave you a little bit earlier. It's even included in the image production pipeline with AI art and portrait studio to visual grain control that you can get in nighttime shots, just to improve, you know, your low light photography or your low light videography. And it works across the entirety of Samsung's ecosystem. For instance, Galaxy AI can detect when you've fallen asleep with your Galaxy Ring on or your Galaxy Watch, and then proceed to turn off the TV for you when you are asleep, which is pretty cool. It's really impressive stuff. Making this sort of AI agent operate between apps and hardware is going to actually set Samsung apart from Apple's attempt at AI integration. This is the most practical and meaningful way to engage with artificial intelligence, and I can't wait to try as many of these things as possible. The Galaxy AI agent responds to natural language prompts, so it can infer your meaning and execute actions across apps and hardware depending on the context of what you're saying and how you say it. Like, you could say it's really cold in here, and Galaxy AI could automatically, or it could ask you, you know, if you'd prefer to have that happen, that it can turn off an aircon in the room for you if you've got a smart aircon like we've got over here, or change the temperature of the climate in the room, which is awesome. And this conversational approach, I think, is the future, because engaging with technology is extremely difficult to execute because it requires really binary understandings of language, and we've seen that with Google Home and talking to Google. And because language is so open-ended, we've had to refine it. But with AI now, taking a hold of that language and making it more interpretable, like understanding our intentions behind what we're saying, is super important. Language is the most natural and instinctual way that we have as humans to communicate. Is like typing on a keyboard or touch screens or whatever isn't the most instinctual way. And we can ask technology to do things for us because it does. It fulfills purposes for us. And to ask it with natural language makes sense. But our challenges have been that we don't know how to interpret natural language because we have, hundreds of languages, if not thousands. And all of them have different ways of deriving intent. And that's really what AI needs to do. And because Galaxy AI works across the entirety of the Samsung ecosystem, it has the capacity to control any device on the SmartThings network, which includes dishwashers, it includes washing machines, it includes air conditioners, it includes so many amazing things. This is really, really the start of something really incredible. The Now bar that you might have seen leaked and that people are talking about is a big focus of where this AI is going to happen. It's a bar that's visible on the lock screen that's designed to be proactive in suggesting what you should do at certain parts of the day, and can even learn what your days look like and what your priorities are, so that you can basically have a virtual butler on your phone, on your lock screen. And the emphasis here is that it's being proactive. So it's not necessarily something that you request of it. It's learned enough of your requests to understand what you need. So it could unprompted give you the optimal time to pick up your kids from school, for instance, or give you better sleep suggestions because that was something that you explained that you wanted to do, or improve your diet because Samsung Health is connected to it and you asked Galaxy AI to help you improve your diet, and it will be proactive in helping you do that. And it's going to act very differently to having notifications pop up that annoy you. The whole idea is that it's supposed to be helpful and ininvasive, but proactive, which I'm excited to do that. It could also fill you in on what headlines you want to hear. So maybe you ask it like, listen, I want to keep track of what's happening at CES, for instance, and it can do that for you. And before you freak out and go like, wow, huge security risk. I mentioned kids earlier. Samsung have stressed that all of this processing is happening on device and not in the cloud. All secure by their Knox vault that they've got on this special chipset inside the device that Snapdragon have built for them. This is great because this private information is locked to you and to your device. And also the processing is happening faster because it's happening locally on your smartphone. It's a win-win. And it's a win-win because Samsung aren't offloading that processing, which costs money on a server farm. It's happening locally on your device. So your phone is doing the legwork of that AI processing, and it's going to remain secure and safe locked within it. They don't need that information. We'll see what the future of that looks like. But right now, that is the most optimal way to operate for both us as users and for Samsung as the provider of these devices. Oh, should you upgrade? Oh, the question of questions. Well, it's going to be a really, really tough call. I think a lot of S24 owners probably won't and shouldn't upgrade based on just these initial first impressions. Remember, most of these Galaxy AI features will be coming to previous devices, so they won't be a selling point for many people, right? Like, also people don't understand AI, so me waxing lyrical about this doesn't really scratch everybody's itch. But if you're a creator or if you're a filmmaker, I think it's going to be a no-brainer to upgrade, especially if you like shooting in log, or you want to be able to shoot in log and apply LUTs to your footage, and just creating content on your phone as your primary content creation device. I think it's going to be an absolute no-brainer. If you really think that you're going to benefit from the Galaxy AI agent from day one, and this is something you've been waiting for, like you've wanted a Jarvis in your house, then I think you're probably gonna want to upgrade regardless of the fact that this is that the software is coming to older devices. Remember, the benefits are that the S25 series has drastically improved NPUs, in the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. So it's going to work much, much better and be, designed for function with AI. I think S24 Ultra might be a bit slow. I don't know. Maybe it's a video I should be making. But the S25 Ultra is built from the ground up to handle those kinds of tasks and have that local processing. If you're upgrading from a Galaxy S22 or S23 or even S21, you're definitely going to see the benefits of upgrading. It's going to be a pretty big jump. And after you use it for a couple of weeks, maybe it won't feel like a big jump the moment you take it out of the box. But seeing how One UI 7 works with these features, you're going to start going, aha, it's great. There's a reason I think that Marquez made the S24 Ultra the phone of the year last year. And I think it's because Samsung understand that if they get the fundamentals waxed, then the phone is going to pop off. And this, now they've got the fundamentals waxed, it's going to be I feel it's going to be a really solid phone, and they're just going to have another layer of awesome stuff on top of it that's going to solidify again into that base, and then I think spread into other products like buds and glasses and watches. It's going to be really, really cool.